This week's edition of Church Media Design TV is sponsored by TripleWideMedia.com, your source for multi-screen content. Welcome to another edition of Church Media Design TV, tips, tricks, and how-to for you, the Church Media Designer. I'm your host, Brad Zimmerman, and I am joined every week by my favorite bobbleheaded friends. You got it right. I like to collect bobbleheads, and they are Jamie and Adam from the Mythbusters. We got Dwight Schrute from The Office. We got Little Whitey, the miniature version of me, and of course, Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High. Well, one thing I wanted to clear up real quick here at the top of the show is that when I introduce Jesus, the only reason I say it the way I do, it's not tongue-in-cheek, I'm not making fun. I just, when I started the show over 2.5 years ago, when I started introducing Jesus, I always introduced him as Jesus Christ, the Son of the Lord Most High. And if you think that sounds crass or something like that, it's a plastic figurine. This is not Jesus. I'm not making fun of him or anything like that. So we can all just kind of shove that one to the wayside. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Actually, this week we're going to be talking about Final Cut Pro, one thing that we've never really talked about. We've talked about plugins and that sort of thing, but we've never jumped into Final Cut Pro. And Nick Khoo is going to be back this week, and he'll be talking about how to get from Final Cut Pro into After Effects, and for a lot less than you think. You don't need to waste your money on Automatic Duck. You can do this for free. So we're going to, get you from Final Cut into After Effects for your post-production for totally free. So I think that's pretty awesome, and I'm really excited that Nick's going to be able to do some Final Cut Pro tutorials and some other things that I wouldn't naturally do. So it's great having an extra contributor to the show, and hopefully you guys loved his last tutorial, and I think you guys are going to love this one as well. It's great. The other thing that you're going to notice about this week's show is that the news segment is gone. Now, we're actually going to be removing the news segment altogether because, well, news inside this show just gets out of date really fast. And so from now on, the news is going to be on the website. So if you want to find out my thoughts on Adobe CS 5.5 or Final Cut Pro, you can go over to the website and find those articles there and stay up to date with what's going on. And the news will always be updated there. And I'm going to try keep on top of news that's important to you. I'm not going to cover news about, oh, Twitter updated its interface. Who cares about Twitter's interface update? I want to give you guys news that's relevant to you. So if Twitter's interface update was relevant to you, then I'd talk about it. But anyway, so we got a ton of great stuff in the show. Beyond that Final Cut Pro tutorial, we got a bunch of great stuff in the stockpile, some awesome inspiration. So if my favorite bobbleheaded friends are ready, let's get into it. Well, let's reach into the stockpile and grab some great resources for you and your church. And the first one comes from Stu Matchewitz, who runs the ProLoss blog. And Stu's a filmmaker, and he also is the creative director for Red Giant. Now, Red Giant is a company that owns a ton of different plugins for software like Adobe Premiere, After Effects, and Final Cut Pro, and some other programs as well. But those are the main ones. And you maybe have never heard of Red Giant, but you maybe have heard of some of their plugins like Trapcode Shine, Particular. They also have Magic Bullet Looks, and a very popular color correction plugin called Colorista. Now, recently or just in the past few months, they updated Colorista to Colorista 2. And they actually said, Colorista 2 is awesome. It's got tons of awesome features for color correction and color grading. I wonder if we could make a free one. So they're actually releasing Colorista free. And so you can find out here. So they've just released Colorista free, and you can see the interface here. So we have the shadow, midtone, and highlight color wheels that are really standard in color correction in the industry. So you can do, color correct, and it shows you the color that you're kind of pushing your highlights and shadows and midtones towards. And so they talk about this and how it works and what the CDL is and all that stuff. But the other thing is they also released another one called LUT Buddy. Now, LUTs are lookup tables. This is a plugin that many of you probably don't have a use for, but if you do, it's a way to take high-end color tables and bring them into After Effects, or go from After Effects to other programs. So that's another one there. But Colorista Free is an awesome plugin that I really encourage you guys to check out. I think we'll do a tutorial about it here in the future on how to do some color grading with it, and I think it really will add a great piece of software to your arsenal, so I encourage you to check that one out. Now the next one is from a website called WeFunction. It's a design blog that, again, I would encourage you guys to check out all the articles on there, but this one in particular caught my attention. It is 45 more subtle grunge brushes, and it's their third set. And you can see here what these subtle grunge brushes look like. Now, I'm one of the people out there who think grunge has kind of died. You know, in the early 2000s, late 90s, web design was all of this super dirty, grungy, and I designed some of this stuff too, where you just kind of beat the crap out of everything, and everything had to look gritty and real, like it was an abandoned part of some big city. Which is cool, but we've kind of lost that style of design overall, and we've moved to more of a light grunge look, where we have some light grungy textures and stuff to give some more realism without going way overboard. And so this set is awesome for that. You can see, you know, just these little hairline cracks and some noise and some textures in there. So you can download these for free, but you can pay for them and donate if you want to grab those. So I encourage you guys to check those out. And then the last one is a website that I've been using lately. I've been developing some custom WordPress functionality for a new website for our church, and I would call myself a web I don't know what you would call myself, actually, because I know enough to be dangerous, and sometimes I can really get myself in trouble because it's like, well, I can figure out how to do that, and it's like, well, I can, but it's going to take me a while. And so I've done a decent amount of programming, but I'm no pro who can just type out what I need to do. So I end up a lot of times going to Google and searching for stuff, and this site came across, and it's been a huge help, and it's called WordPress Answers. Now, as you can see here, it's a form where you can throw up your questions, and you can actually vote up answers that you think are correct, as well as it shows how many people have viewed it and what answers have been, given for it. And so it makes it really easy for you to figure out what answer is correct. Now, one cool thing about this is this is part of the Stack Exchange network. Now, this network has a ton of different websites, including parenting, code golf, writers, homebrew, graphic design, physics. We got Drupal, guitars, photography. One of the other great ones is Stack Overflow, which is a great another site for coding and that sort of thing. So this is a great network of sites that if you're doing development and you're trying to find an answer, I would encourage you to go to these sites before you go to Google, because a lot of times you'll get a better answer, or it'll be quicker to find your answer at a site like this. So if you want to find out about all of these sites and get links and more information, I encourage you to go check out the show notes at cmd.tv/129. You can find all the links in the show notes there, so go check them out. Well, before we move on, let's say thank you to our sponsor of TripleWideMedia.com, your source for multi-screen content. Now, you may ask, Brad, what do you mean by multi-screen content? I'm talking about churches and people who have multiple screens going on, and they actually want to display different content on each one of those screens. Now, you can do this via some different software from ProPresenter, and I think there's some other companies that can allow you to do this for decently cheap. But what it allows you to do is to have, graphics that span across multiple screens, or you can seamlessly put these screens together across one giant screen across the back of your stage. Or maybe you want to do environmental projection and you want to create this huge environment in your room. And so you can check out all of these kind of graphics on their site. And so you can see they have motion, short films, countdowns, footage, and still images. And here's kind of a sample of one of these. And you can see the lines in between here show the different screens. So these are 3 4x3 screens that have this content spanned all the way across. Now, if we check out here, this is a great one for Easter coming up. And if we just hit play and watch a little bit of this, we'll see, we have this great scene going on. But the cool part about triple wide media is that you actually get all three versions of this. You get a single wide, a double wide, and the triple wide, all for the same price. And they actually show you the single wide version here, so you can preview this. So this is what the single wide version would look like, and then the double wide as well. Now the cool thing about this is you can go and let's say you're not doing multi-screen projection right now. Well, you can go buy these at Triple Wide Media, and then for a day like Easter, which is coming up, or another large event where you're like, man, we should try do this for this event and see how it fits, or you're going to maybe upgrade your video system in a year or something like that, and you end up going to multi-screen content, you can go back to the site and download the triple wide and double wide versions for free, because you get all three of them every single time you buy an item. So I want to encourage you guys to, if you're looking at doing multi-screen content or you want to future-proof your media, go check out triplewidemedia.com.
Hey, what's up? It's Nick here for Church Media Design. I'm just going to do a tutorial today on how to translate a timeline from Final Cut into After Effects. It's something that a lot of people have been asking about. It's really not that complicated, but it definitely helps if somebody can walk you through the process and kind of show you kind of the things you can and can't do with this free script I'm going to show you from Popcorn Island. There's heaps of other free scripts, but this is the one that I found that works the best. So check out the tutorial. Now, there are a lot of workflows for this kind of thing. There are paid workflows and there are free workflows. I'm just going to take you through one particular workflow using a free plugin from Popcorn Island. I'll just show you where it is. If you go to this address, popcornisland.com, 2009 and 03 Final Cut final cut -2 After Effects. Basically come here and look for the free script, which is one of these two, whatever version you have. I have actually CS3 because, well, I have to yet update my version of After Effects. But once you download that script, which will be wherever you download, you can just go straight to Finder and install it in your scripts folder, which is just here in CS3. In CS4, I think it's in the same place as well, or I think these guys actually show you how to actually install it. So once you get that installed, basically let's have a look at what you can do. Now this is just a little clip I put together using the day that I went out to check out these steam trains basically. And it's got a title with a black bar in it. I've also inserted a picture here with some movement and back to some footage which I sped up to 200%. And there we go, also, and a little fade at the end. Now, there are some limitations with this script that you should probably know about. One of them is that it actually doesn't translate any of your text elements for you. The second thing you should know is that whenever you do any speed ramping, such as moving things to 200% or 300%, it actually doesn't translate that for you either. In some cases, it actually screws up your footage. I've also noticed that with HDV footage, it also tends to screw it up a little bit as well. Not really sure why. I didn't really look into it. I just tried to steer clear of HDV. So there are some of the things you need to think about when you are using this script. However, if you are desperate and you cannot be bothered learning, putting up with these problems, there is another alternative called Automatic Tuck, which is awesome. And it basically will solve all those problems for you. But it is a fairly hefty price. I think it actually is about $600 or $600. I can't remember what the price is, depending on what the import or export is. And it only goes one way. So, it's quite an expensive plugin, but if your workflow is Final Cut to After Effects or vice versa, this is probably the plugin to get. However, this is a free script, and you know what? You're not going to lose any. You're not going to lose much by having a go at this script. So let's get started with this, shall we? So once you've installed the script into After Effects, it's pretty straightforward from here. What we're going to do is we're going to basically take this timeline and just highlight it and then go Export XML. And then you can pick, I usually pick Apple Interchange Format 4, include master clips outside the selection, and save project with latest clip metadata, and then go OK. And so I usually set up a folder called XML, and I just throw it in there. So this allows you to basically, export the data without actually having to export all the footage. I mean, of course, right now, if we were to export this as it is as a QuickTime movie, the issue that obviously you have when you bring it into basically into After Effects is that you don't have those cuts, and you have to go through and actually go frame by frame and actually look where the cuts are and then put them in, and it's just a real pain to have to go and do that, and more so than that, those titles are baked in, so you can't change anything. And really what you want to do is you just want to be able to go through and just not have to worry about where the cuts are. So, and that's tedious. So, and you can imagine if there's a long enough timeline where it's like a 20-minute or 30-minute video you have to do, and there's like multiple cuts that you have to kind of fix up. I mean, it would just drive you insane having to go through and do those cuts. So we're not going to do that. This is what the script is basically for. So let's import the file. So let's go to script from the XML script that we had. It's actually just out of your view, but it just says PCI FCP to AE script. It's in there, trust me. Once you click on that, you go, okay, I want to import this file, and we go okay. I generally don't import the audio tracks. I don't really have a reason to. You might have a reason to, but at this stage I generally do all my audio mixing in Final Cut anyway, so I go no. And you'll get this folder called FCP import. Now this is where all the footage is, and this is where your sequence is. So what I generally do is I usually make a new folder called comps, and I put my comps in there, and I'll move that one in there too. And I'll rename this one whatever it came from, but I'll just name it that, something meaningful, and move that out of there and put it into the clips folder so I know, and I'll just ditch this folder completely. That's generally how I organize my footage. Anyway, so let's have a look at this. So if it's going to open, there you go. So you can see here it actually does a pretty good job of actually keeping the cuts where they're supposed to be, and there you go. It's all lovely. It's all lovingly resequenced for you. And there was what you didn't notice before was it actually imports pictures as well. So if you can look at this, you'll see that actually there is a little bit of just give me a bit of a spasm here. Oh, don't crash. There's a little bit of a movement on this picture. I just put a small scale on it, and you could easily have put a center, or I just put 2 keyframes on there just to basically make it scale. And it actually does translate into, using this script actually does translate in here, those keyframes that you can see. Those keyframes actually do translate across, which is actually kind of cool. Now this footage here was supposed to be 200%, but as you can see here, it didn't translate. It's only stayed at 100%. So that's where you have to kind of keep in mind that if you ever do things like speed ramping, I'll just show you again here. So this is at 200%, as you can see. I'll just show you where the end frame is. You see that, if you can see that guy there, sort of walking off the frame. But if you watch here, oh, actually, it's kind of, actually walking off the frame. Did it speed ramp? No, surely not. Oh, you know what? I take it back. It actually does do speed ramping. The last version I used didn't do speed ramping, so forgive me, it actually does the speed ramping for you. Well, there you go. That's something else I didn't know. So there you go. That's one more thing you don't have to worry about. It didn't translate the fades though. That's the other thing that I didn't do, but I don't know if that's really a massive deal. I mean, it's not very hard to keyframe a fade onto the thing. And that's really great because now you can just throw on your adjustment layer on top of everything and start doing your color grading. Where the heck are my effects in this thing? There we go. So we'll start color grading everything, and it's really great because now you don't have to worry. And this is why it's important, I guess, for me to have this all split up, because okay, so for example, I do a color grade on this and I start giving it a bit of a treatment. I know it's not really a great color thing, but anyway, so just say we make it look the way that it does. It's a bit contrasting. Let me just, it's going to bother me. I know. Ugh. That's a bit too much. Anyway, it's not really important. I'm not trying to color grade here. So just say, for example, one of these shots is a little bit too bright. So what's even great is that now that I've got the general color correction on top of it, I can go back into individual shots that have already been split up by FCP to a script, and we can just go through and just change things on individual clips now. So that makes it really easy to be able to split up those clips so that you can do some fancy things with, you know, you can actually go through and individually change these segments. Excuse me. So that's not such a big deal. I think I just burped. Oh, that's terrible. Anyway, now the other thing you need to think about though is this is great for this kind. This is probably the optimal example of what you would do to try and make this work. But there are some instances where this actually doesn't work, and this is what I've had. This is the kind of the workaround I had to do. Now, just for example, you're making some typography thing, or there's something that's timed with music, and particularly if it's text, you know, you wanted to come on with special sound effects. So when it goes bang and it goes bang, bang. And so, you know, if we just play this, it's like bang, 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 and then you have a fade through with the text. Now, the thing is here, you translate everything, you do all the timing here, but this whole sequence will not translate into Final Cut. And I'll show you what I mean. So you go export XML, and you go okay, and we'll put this into the script. And if we go script, and you can't see the script, but it's there. If we go that one, no. Okay, and we have a look. There's actually nothing in there. See, none of those text elements will get translated, and there is obviously no footage. So it's completely useless in that respect. So this is the only other way I've thought about actually getting this workaround, and this is probably the easiest way. It's not the best way, but it is a workaround, and I apologize, it's not optimal. But if you do need to do something like this, where you need to basically translate something that is heavily timed with your footage, or with your sound effects and stuff, I actually just go, especially if it's only just text, I suggest going export QuickTime, go and just take off make contain movie, because it's only text, so you don't have to worry too much about it. I'd make a new folder, FCP exports, and just export it. It should only take a second really. It's not a very big file, and it's done. Now what we do is we'll import it again and pull it in, and just get rid of the audio. Now, what I tend to do is I'll press up. Oops, what I like to do is start from the end and highlight the clip, and I press up, then Control V, up, Control V, up, Control V, up, and then Control V. And that way, when you press up, it kind of snaps to the next cut. So right now, what's really great about this is that now we have a clip that's actually cut up into the right areas for us. So what you can do now is select that, things like this whole sequence, and since that won't be translated, it won't even matter. So we'll go export and then XML, go OK, and click that again, and we'll replace it. And let's go back to After Effects, and if we go script and run the script again, you'll see that there will be something in there now. Now, this is sort of your guide layer, I guess. So there, it's all in there. And so now you can start working on, obviously not on this is still your guides, but at least now when you want to say, for example, put text on there, you know, you've got the guides now that basically do it. And so now it's not so hard to basically put those elements in the way you would like them to. And so, and just shut those off if you don't want them, and it's pretty easy. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope that's kind of helped you a little bit. It definitely will increase your workflow if you definitely work a lot in After Effects, and you know, to be honest, it's one of the best compositing and motion graphics tools out there. So I mean, if you're not into it, you should get into it, and don't let the Final Cut workflow stop you from getting to where you need to be. I mean, it's not that hard to kind of get here, and you know, go to you know, to get to After Effects from Final Cut. It's just, but you do have to set things up, and it will take a little bit of time to actually set it up, but once you get it, I promise you it is well worth it. Okay, thanks for joining me today. I hope you had a good time. I'll probably see you next time, probably about a month, and I'll have another tutorial about something else that's cool. In the meantime, just email Brad and just tell him what you want out of these tutorials, and I'll see if I can figure them out for you. Okay, see ya.
Well, this week's inspiration comes to us from a magazine that's been around for a very long time, and it is National Geographic. And the reason I'm showing you this video this week is because I think, yet again, this is something that you could do in your local church. And this might actually help you out of some situations you find yourself in. You find yourself with a bunch of statistics or facts and figures that you need to present in a creative way. And that's what this video does. It presents a lot of different things, but it uses text, and a lot of times this is called kinetic typography, and it uses this text and moves it around and shows it in a really interesting manner that's engaging to the audience. It mixes in some simple visuals along the way, but all along it's just basically presenting something that if I would tell you, you would get really bored and it wouldn't sound that great. But in this form, it's super engaging. So they're asking the question, are you average? And they're trying to figure out who is the average person in the world. And so I want you guys to find out, are you average? Well, thanks for tuning in to another edition of Church Media Design TV. If you guys have any questions or comments, I want to encourage you to do that at the episode page. You can do that at CMD.tv/129. Leave your questions or comments there, and then they can be answered for everyone who checks it out. If you guys want to find out and see more of Nick's work, you can head over to his website at nickkhoo.com, and you can find him at twitter.com/nickbenkhoo. If you want to find me online, you can find me at twitter.com/CMDTV, facebook.com/CMDTV, and of course you can email me at brad@ChurchMediaDesign.tv. Well, I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I want to encourage you as we head into Easter to prepare well so that you can relax during the execution, so you can enjoy the execution. A lot of times on big Sundays like Easter, we get caught up in what's going on and we don't get a chance to just sit back and enjoy that moment, enjoy worshiping and celebrating this most important day in our heritage. Because without Easter, none of this would matter. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, and I hope that you would say the same thing about what you do, because if he didn't rise from the dead, this is all worthless. So I am so excited for Easter, and I know that you are as well. So be encouraged going into this Easter season. You guys are meaningful, and what you do on Easter Sunday is super important for the kingdom, and what you do every Sunday is super important for the kingdom. So, prepare well so that you can enjoy the execution. So those are my last little words for you today. So as for me and my favorite bobbleheaded friends, we're saying, see you later.